live action Cowboy Bebop exists, and I'm terrified for if it's basically going to be okay or terrible. I'm not feeling much better than that. I'm only feeling in between those two, and I've tried to avoid as much as I could, but I haven't seen positive reaction yet. I'll put a link to a video where I basically mention how I think the first episode of Cowboy Bebop, followed up by what comes after it, is kind of what makes it great, and the fact that they saved the real storyline for episode 5. So those are things I think are very important to the series, and we're gonna see if they handle those correctly here, because I remember seeing Vicious in the intro that they released early, and then if he pops up even earlier than that in the series, I don't have good hopes for it. So those are kind of my signs for what I'm going into it here. To be honest, I love the series, so I'm biased. I can't say I'm coming into this completely objectively. I feel like I'm not going to like it, but I will try to move past that and give an objective opinion that's going to be subjective anyway. But I feel like they're gonna get some of the style and miss the point. So let's see if that's what happens. This is so nervous, honestly.
Shitbag corporations. They control everything now. Just gotta squeeze every last drop of blood out of the little guy, right? Every single one of these corporate assholes be taken out to the woods and the woods set on fire.
So I don't hate this. I think that is something that can very much be incorporated into Bebop, some kind of anti-corporate. I'm also all for that, to be fair. But I think that can very much be incorporated into it, especially when you have the gate accident that's built into Bebop. You can kind of tie it into some implications like that and show the evil of that kind of stuff. But I don't like this as an opening. I don't think this is a good opening, because the opening to Cowboy Bebop should be Spike, because he is the soul, he is the heart of Cowboy Bebop. And that's, again, to that video I mentioned earlier, the original first episode, its first airing, was cut, so it opens on Hakim and doesn't open on Spike. And I think that's part of why it didn't do as well, because it didn't open on Spike kind of setting that low note of the series before jumping into the action and the jazz and all the stuff that makes it good.
How we doing?
We're close, boss.
We're close. Yeah, he nailed that.
You tell me.
This is a little overdramatic and goofy, though.
Oh, for the love of freaking God!
Yeah, who could that be? Who would it possibly be? He's just gonna not notice it's going on, or not notice.
Hey, you with the headphones!
That is very Spike, I will say. It's almost a little Vash the Stampede as well.
I came here to place a bet.
We're stopping the action for a second. I hate stopping the... That's some fucking Moriarty the Patriot shit. I'll probably put that clip up. That's like the typical, like, oh, what would a badass do? Like, kick the coin, take them all down. Bebop was goofy at times, but that goofiness was always subdued in the actual seriousness and like the loneliness of the series overall. It was there, but it had this feeling of, it's goofy because they're playing it up a little bit, because they're these lonely people drifting through space, and that's just how they survived, how they get through it. Something like that is just, oh, this would look really cool because Spike's a cool guy. So yeah, it looks cool, but that's not Bebop. It's definitely seeming style over substance, which, again, I'm gonna try to stay hopeful, but it's hard. What the fuck was that? They always... Just one of you, a single one of you, keep your gun loaded. You don't all have to empty them out at the exact same time.
Goddamn, Spike! You're supposed to wait for my signal!
I was wondering when you'd show up.
Ooh, big ouchie. Oh, more ouchie.
Come on, Spike!
Yeah, what was that about taking them alive?
Shut up. You didn't kill Tanaka, did you?
They kind of have the, like, buddy cop, Spike and Jet thing. The, like, one of them is being all serious, and one of them's just kind of goofing around, and that's kind of Spike and Jet, but again, that's like if you're looking at the surface of it, like the cool guy and then the kind of grizzled old detective veteran. I mean, I might be just misremembering the series. I've seen it a few times now, but I don't remember actual buddy cop moments much within Bebop. And when they fight, it's actually comes at those very serious moments, because they have a lot of goofy fights up until then, but not. I don't think they happen usually during the action scenes like this, because Bebop, for all its goofiness at times, did have some level of seriousness to the action of it. Because it is what it is. It's death, and that was a part of the Bebop universe that they did well. They like slapped the intern on that, like, oh yeah, watch this anime and get us some details. And they checked out 4 episodes and some clips on YouTube and went buddy cop. So I don't know.
I am walking out of here! Or she dies.
That's your hostage? I mean, she looks like she's led a very full, rich life, haven't you, ma'am? I mean, you got kids, right? You ready to go?
What the hell, Frank?
Who takes a shit in the middle of a heist?
Stay back! Jesus Christ, is that a disruptor?
The disruptor thing, whatever, they obviously wanted to get some like cool tech looking stuff in. The Spike and the hostage like lived a full life thing feels a little bit off to me, because Spike was always a little bit cold, but that was again very much in with his kind of that act of not actually really getting too close to anyone, because he has this cool guy-esque persona that covers his dark past. And I don't feel like that's a very Spike thing to do. I mean, I get he's just trying to resolve the situation, but that feels again too much like a forced, oh, we need a really cool guy, kind of cold, mysterious thing to say. So I'm not a big fan of that. The voices are very good, I will say. They both.
I'm not a cop.
They both feel very true to the
Not
series.
worth that much.
Okay, I'll give them that. That was cool. Actually seeing something that's very Cowboy Bebop in like the physical way being brought into more modernized and more 3D like that, and getting to see a lot of small detail in there is actually very cool. So if nothing else, if they can do that a few times, there'll be something in here, because that was actually pretty nice. And we're getting some of the actual original soundtrack too. Okay, this is a lot for the first episode. So again, to keep going back to how important the first episode of Cowboy Bebop is, the action in that one, although it has the dogfight at the end, which was also actually a prerequisite for them to make Bebop. Watanabe kind of had to sell it based on toys, so that's why a lot of those scenes are in there earlier and not later. But the action in that one was very small and personal to start. It wasn't a big heist thing. It was literally Spike and Jet going out, Spike kind of solo to start things off, and getting a bounty and showing off his character, how he does with other people, and kind of layering up the villain with one who's more sympathetic and one who's less sympathetic together, and really creating the feel for the series, which was this gray, lonely area. And having a big fuck off heist casino thing like this, with them already busting into space, what happens next? It's the mix of subtle and over the top, or at least, Spike had that personal fight before it evolved into something big, and that's kind of how they get screwed over, and that's how things go, and they survive those situations. So there is that over the topness and goofiness to it, but with that already in place layer of down to earth 90s anime, pure nailing down on emotion. And I don't think we're gonna have that here.
I'd say very badly damaged would be A-okay. Huh?
That is a very good Jet voice, I have to say. That is like nearly spot on Jet. I love that.
Who are you?
Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am.
I don't like that. Don't like the cheesy, just a bounty hunter.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Well, I'll stop it. I don't do reactions, so I don't know how the fuck to do them. But actually, that's a very good point. Stop it. It's coming out obviously like 30 years later, so having the in jokes in there, like Teddy Bear Bomber and stuff already in the intro, and Mad Perot, it's okay, I guess. Most people who are watching it have seen it, so you're not gonna hide that stuff. But that the kind of the worst end of that though is putting Vicious in the intro. Again, obviously we all know Vicious is the bad guy. We all know he's gonna pop up, but I think it's very against the spirit of Bebop, because again, I've argued that good anime save that what's really going on, those real hits of the main plot for that kind of 5-episode mark. That's what Bebop does. That's what Trigun does for a while, is really holds off on those impactful moments where we start to see the depth of the series. That's what Psycho-Pass does until Makishima is finally revealed. It's what a lot of great anime do, and that's something that we don't see a lot in like Netflix series or just kind of live action series in general. And even in anime, they love to do we'll show the villain immediately, dark and mysterious, but that's not Bebop. That's very against the spirit, because what you're doing first is laying down that baseline. You want Vicious to come in after that baseline, because again, he's kind of the full-on drop of that goofiness and into the loneliness, so you have to have that balance first for that moment to mean anything. Like that shouldn't be in the intro at all. The Greenbird scene should not even think about being in the intro. This is what's supposed to lead the series off. This is straight up what's supposed to lead the series off. That's the most important thing to lead it off with. That's why part of why I think it almost failed and didn't do as well, because you didn't have this doing the fucking hard legwork at the beginning when episode 1 didn't air. This is not 10 minutes in. This is 0 seconds you do this. I'm genuinely pissed that they did this after a big frig off action scene. But like this is what Bebop is supposed to be right here. The opening is just that silence. It's Spike, where the mystery of him isn't a cool guy who has a quippy line. The mystery of him is this is clearly an act. That's the mystery of Spike Spiegel. So this is really what the series should have led with. But again, for even more, having the stuff brought into 3D and shown off in all that detail, that is really nice.
I'm gonna take a piss in transit. You wanna charge me for that too?
We already do, Bebop. Read the fine print.
That was kind of good. That was kind of good. It's, a little bit rusted up ship. Okay, here we go. Damn it. Show Spike training. Show Spike training. It's very important, I'd argue. I think this is going to be the summary of it, is that they went, Spike looks cooler, just sitting there laying back. And then, we hit the funny moments, or the memorable jokes like beef and onions or beef and bell peppers, and there's no beef. So this right here might be a good summary of what the series ends up being.
All the shit you've been through, you're overdue for some good luck. Am I right?
That's right, smart guy.
That sounded like you, admit it.
So I will give the actors credit. That just kind of shoving it in and like pulling one up is very Jet, and then the lazily putting it in the mouth and kind of like getting it up is very Spike. So that in physicality, they each did really well with incorporating what I feel from the characters from the anime. So that is actually a really nice small detail. Their back and forth is, I think, a little bit too focused on each other. Like again, like I think in the first episode, Spike's more annoyed, but he's annoyed about what Jet calls the beef and peppers. So I think they're a little bit too, like, they're making Spike a bit too much of an asshole. Okay, and here we get the actual first episode characters. So let's see how they do this, because this is very important. Again, I think this should have been the lead off.
Everything's going to be fine.
May I have a glass of water?
No water today.
Red Eye, I can get you 100 files today.
Then we make a deal. Then we have cupcakes.
Cupcakes?
Who don't like cupcakes?
That I almost want to call that the Marvel effect, where like every serious scene has to have some fucking quip thrown in, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if like Gruff and Tough drug deal and they mention cupcakes? Hey, way! This is the serious, or not the serious, but this is the tone-setting episode for the whole series. We don't need cupcake jokes. Come on. I do like the physical hints they're giving of like, he's more of an asshole, she cares a bit more, where he like, you know, grabs her face and she gives him the no, but he still does it.
Hey. You screwed up bad, Asimov.
Okay, so we get to see how this is done, because this again is a very important scene. Like him actually losing his shit. Before I put this together, I'll have to go and double check the exactly how that scene was shot in the anime, but I don't think there was a really a soundtrack to it. I think it was mostly just kind of him beating the shit out of people and going crazy, which again is very important to the tone setting of Bebop, to kind of have the world that's a bit goofy and like the old dudes and things like that, but then when shit hits the fan, and there's serious moments like him tripping his fuck off Red Eye and becoming basically a monster, because this should be a very kind of almost like whoa shit moment. It's part of why the first episode didn't air originally, because it was drugs and a guy beating the shit out of people. I love the fucking physicality of like building props like that. Being able to bring things into physicality from anime like that is very cool.
Are you kidding me with this shit?
Credit goes into your account, minus expenses. And
look at here, buddy.
Next.
With that station fees thing, it seems like they might over time be going with a kind of how to put it, I don't want to say like anti-establishment, but like obviously they open on a guy going fuck corporations, and then that where they're getting screwed by the police department, so that they might be kind of working something different in here that could work. But again, I think the magic of 90s anime and particularly Bebop is nailing down a particular feeling, loneliness, that might get in the way of. So I'm not saying it's going to be bad, but I think it might just detract from really what the series is about.
Piece of shit, cowboy.
I think they're growing a little bit too gruff and tough. I don't think they need it to be as... Everyone doesn't need to be as much of an asshole as they have been.
There's a bounty coming up. It's not on the wire yet. So
Why are you giving it to me?
your ex-wife asked me to throw you a bone every now and again, so...
Everyone knows the series already, but putting in Jet's backstory before the groundwork is laid that heavily, isn't a good sign. And we'll have to see how they change it as well, because obviously it sounds like it's a little bit different than what we see in the anime. But I don't think we should have that yet, because we need to get a feel for the world first, and then we get into that. So again, they're doing a lot immediately compared to what the original did, which was, here's our first, because Watanabe directed it as a series of movies. So each episode was its own character, its own movies. That's why it's all different like that. And they're immediately stringing it all together, which again is very not Cowboy Bebop and very against what made it so good. They also just to Jet's credit, having the like, my ex-wife asked you to throw me a bone, I really dislike that, because his arc was all about learning his own faults and you know, being controlling as he does, and that plays into letting Spike go and being less mad at him and different things like that. And him going back after so long, and it's moving on and being stuck in the past, because he goes back and kind of expects everything to be the same with someone who's moved on, and it's not. So having her be like, throw him a bone, goes against that. Okay, so we are getting this, but a little bit later than we should have.
My daughter's turning 8, and I can't afford to buy her a present because
Okay, so that's also something I'd like heard, but I don't want to go back really, but so that confirms it. Jet has a daughter? Is that gonna be like the replacement for Boogie Woogie Feng Shui? Is that like it's Jet's daughter, and it like condenses the series a little bit, which they're obviously doing? Again, I don't like that because that brings him more into like the ex-husband, more of a tropey like dad who's not around and he'll probably learn and different things like that. But that's not what his story was. His story was about letting go of the past, and then although Boogie Woogie Feng Shui is the worst episode of the series, it does cap off his story in that he uses what he's learned about letting go of the past and taking himself out of it to help someone else do the same, to move on from a past. So I don't like that it's gonna be his daughter and probably ditch the meaning behind his character arc. So I really don't like it being Jet's daughter.
I can afford a goddamn walking Sally doll, which is apparently all the goddamn rage in little girls' toys. And as long as you're
bringing in the like, oh, expensive typical Christmas present, very much absent father trope.
Do you feel better?
Yeah, a little.
Some of the jokes are funny.
Who's she?
Girlfriend, maybe? Why do all the pretty ones end up as psychos? It's beyond me.
That's very Jet. That line. Again, that's some of the small stuff I like. But it was also the 90s, so things were just sadly different. But Bebop, it's very much like Spike just immediately says, I don't like dogs, women, or children. And Jet is very much a kind of gruffer, you know, he's a dude. He's just a dude. So he has those kind of like, this is a man's things going on. So that line is very true to Jet, which also plays into his story because he goes back and we learn he was very controlling and he, you know, basically goes back and expects the same thing. So those lines are very good for Jet. It's just cool. The mechanical shit's just cool to see real. I'll give it that. I'm gonna keep giving it that. I'll fanboy about something and that's it. I do like the focus on Spike walking because it's a very manufactured cool guy walk and like that, like stepping on the ball and doing everything so smoothly. Drawing attention to that and making it seem manufactured is very good because it is manufactured for Spike for the most part.
Right before you, someone else came in asking after him. Young bird, purple hair.
Oh, are we gonna get Faye tied into the first episode? Is Faye gonna like already be a bounty hunter starting off in like episode 1? I'm gonna really hate that. I'll just be honest with you. I'm gonna really hate that. Because again, that's the slow introduction of the characters is important because Faye comes on and it takes a while, but then she clings on, and that's very important to Bebop because it's almost like out of necessity. Like they're lonely, but they know they need other people, and they never quite really connect, but they have a mutual shared interest, and that kind of keeps them together through this very lonely feeling. They leave and come back. So I think the timing of Bebop's very important. So condensing the series is not a good idea, and they seem to be doing that. But we do get the old guys, which we need. Again, if you're gonna put fan service shit in there, make it the small shit like that. Like just have the crazy old dudes. That's easy bonus points.
I saw him.
Didn't look so good.
Sick, maybe.
Like so we'll see how this goes and get onto it. But why were the old dudes less silly? Why was they're the silliest part of Cowboy Bebop. That's where you shove your ridiculous shit in. Why were they less silly? They're supposed to be the goofiness to you know, lighten things up and bring some comedy so those hearts hit as hard as they do when you get brought back down. So why were they less funny? Come on.
May I? It's bad for your health, I hear. Hey, forgive this for coming off like a cheap pickup line, but what is a nice girl like you doing on a nasty cesspool of a place like this?
So again, this is very much in line with what I've been saying already, because how Spike meets her in the anime is he bumps into her and helps her pick up the food, and she's like, hey, you know, turns around and, or you know, she lets him have it, and then he gives her back the rest. And that's very much a mix of what Spike was, because they wanted him to be a cool guy, but his design was intentionally to be less cool. And again, that's a lot of his characters like that too, where, you know, he's basically getting dunked on by Ein, like shaking water on him and stuff. There's a lot of things about Spike that aren't cool to undercut the coolness, make it feel a lot more real and really hit home that it's all an act, like a lot of things in the series are. So I really like that introduction because he doesn't look cool for a second, but he's doing something cool. He managed to pickpocket all this shit, which is some, you know, sly, smooth guy stuff, but he has it hidden in his mouth and he's really goofy about it, and that's what undercuts it. So having him just do this suave, can I help you with that, and, you know, pickup line intro is missing the point of Spike. And really, at that point, missing the point of Bebop, because that's kind of what it is.
Oh, I hear there's great dancing at the Fox.
That's actually a little bit of what I was just saying was missing, was that, like, oh, I hear there's, and he you know, makes something up that's very obviously a lie, and a little bit like a cool guy, but he almost messed it up for a second. That's very Spike. So more lines like that, less of the oh, I am sexy stuff.
Well, you just remind me of someone.
Again, I don't like bringing that in immediately. That, like, flashback stuff, and you remind me of her. That you're forcing the story in before you're laying the baseline. That's what I've been saying the whole time.
Spoken like a man who's never been in love.
I was. Once. I was dreaming. It was time to wake up.
Obviously, I saw people dunking on the dialogue, and I get it, because, like, I think there's okay, so there's a lot to I really like the channel How to Drink, and in his episode about Cowboy Bebop, one of the things he says is I probably like it less now because he, you know, brings up, oh, it's a little bit edgy, and it is. I don't like to think of it as is, but there are a lot of lines in Cowboy Bebop that are, like, really cool when you're 16, like Spike's I was just dreaming I needed to wake up. But it works a lot better when you have 24 episodes or 22 episodes that come before it and these really serious moments, and then he says something like that. It hits different than just sounding like a, ooh, this is edgy and kind of mysterious, even though it is developed and it has more reason to be said than just that. And again, we've all seen the series, so we know what's behind it, but it doesn't have, I'm trying to consider this as, you know, a faithful retelling of the series, something like that. So I want it to still have those same aspects. I don't want it to just throw stuff from the series at me, and that's what that is. So, and then I'm assuming that this is going to be Faye coming up behind him.
Does that shit work on all the girls? Yeah, you can kindly fuck off. It's nothing personal, but your mark's coming with me.
And again, why does everyone have to be such an asshole? That's the point of Bebop, is they're kind of assholes, but it's like they're stuck in between. They're trying not to be, but then they are, because they're lonely, so they try to put up a front to act like they're not lonely, but they know they need each other, so they're kind of assholes, but not really. Here, everyone, like, just, oh, fuck off with that. Like, that's, why? So are we replacing the Asimov fight scene with this? For how kind of silly it was, those are actually a bit of the details that should be, like Spike, he's trying to be cool right there, and she just gives him a fucking knee, and like that's good stuff, because it's a little bit of like, oh look, his act didn't work for a second. So I do like that, but I one of the most memorable things of the first episode is that smooth ass fight scene between him and Asimov, and I really hope we get that, because that as a stand-in was nowhere close to it whatsoever. And then they have a look that was originally in the spaceship. Because again, if that scene does not happen later, where they're in the spaceship and flying away and reveals she shot him and then they get blown the fuck up. Again, that's Bebop. It didn't work out just because kind of fate happened and she decided to do something different and all that. That is the peak moment of episode 1, because again, that it was very serious, setting the tone. It goes up a bit, that action, and then it all comes crashing down in, oh, this didn't end with him being a cool guy. This ended with things not working out and he got screwed, and it's just a loss of life that didn't need to happen. And that's the key point of episode 1. And then it goes back and resets, and it's that cyclical loneliness of things not working out, of Cowboy Bebop. So if that scene doesn't happen later, I'm gonna be pissed.
God, has anyone ever cleaned up in here?
And we move this whole scene up.
Hey, fuck you. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
she's immediately an asshole without the kind of, I don't want to say redemption, but understandability of like, hey, she's in a shitty situation, she needs this to work out, and she's a gambling addict, which then is revealed to really play into her past. So having her just off the bat be like, fuck you a lot, I'm not liking what they're doing with her character.
Okay, who is she?
She's a bounty hunter.
No, she's not. She's not a bounty hunter.
We gotta find Asimov before they do.
And the rule is, when it comes to the syndicate, we walk away.
Suddenly you give a shit about the rules.
This isn't gonna get us paid. It's gonna get us dead.
Having their confrontation already, and again, Jet's backstory, and bringing the syndicate into it, and having Spike be scared of them when in reality he'd kind of go a little bit crazy, and you know, someone would say vicious and red eye, and he might try to chase him down. They're shifting a lot of things about the characters that I think are crucial to the series. Okay. We get the swordfish. Again, this is the cool shit. Like, I want to sit in that. I want to sit in that, and I want to act like I'm a Cowboy Bebop. This is the stuff I can watch it for. Switches, revving. I don't know what any of it means, but I love it. Yes, I must observe this so the audience is aware I'm going to break out of the lock.
Hey, computer, find me whoever owns this piece of shit boat.
Password required.
Okay. Fucking idiots.
I almost like that because I hate the like fucking idiots because again they're just making Faye an asshole for no reason. But I do like that the passwords are stopped because who the fuck else is ever on the ship? Jen obviously put that up there for like years ago and forgot about it because no one else is on the ship. So that's like a nice detail there that can also be used for comedy.
Hey, you guys can't be here.
It's weird because they're condensing the series but also stretching it out with this. Because I think he just hijacked someone in the original, and here he's like going somewhere specifically, and like, so yeah, they're condensing and stretching. So why?
You really think you're gonna be safe anyway?
Again, this is also a very important Spike only scene to set the series, and then kind of set Jet later. So this should just be Spike.
I can help her get away. You just have to let me.
We'll get more into this, but also it's Spike's original meeting her where he steals the food but then like gives it back, and then he talks to her and they have that conversation that's a little bit, you know, hint nudge kind of in that way. That's supposed to be where we see that it's a bit more of an act and that he's playing cool and that he does care somewhat about people because he gives her the food back, and then he takes it a little bit easy on her, and the reason Asimov gets away is because he had that little bit of care, and then that's also why they both die. So it was a very serious thing that showed this little bit of care Spike had and why he might not want to in the future, and give us a reason for why he might be a little cold. So having this very action movie kind of like, but I can save her thing, again, is very, very not Cowboy Bebop. And it's like, instead of giving us Spike's character and letting it develop, they went, here's a bit of it, here's a bit of it, here's a bit of it, and they spread it into different chunks that don't work as well.
Not interested.
It's good that Asimov did that though, because he's not supposed to be very humanized. Way too many cuts. Way too many cuts for a fight scene.
Kill them all!
Get ready to get out of here!
Guns, shoot, bang. Gun, shoot, bang. Bang. Cool man with gun, shoot, bang.
Zira, you're dead. We killed you.
And I want to keep it that way, Chiefo.
That... no. It's again... that makes me lose a lot of faith. Because again, Spike's just egregiously an asshole dickhead right there. And clearly that guy's going to get away, and that's how Spike's still alive. And it's instead of... God damn it. I think I need a second to actually like put into words why I hate that so much. I've said this in again that video again. It was very important they saved those moments for after they had already developed everything, and then we see why it's an act, since we've already kind of seen that it's an act, what I've been saying the whole time. And then just, again, that's not Spike to just execute someone there like that. If whenever he's going after Vicious, he kills them, but he's in kind of that animal, like, beast, I'm trying to kill my past mode. Spike doesn't walk up and execute people. That's not what he does. That's a generic action movie cool guy thing. I think I just need to move on. Oh, everyone's a dick. That's why this sucks.
You are ordered to stop.
They're gonna, like, ruin the most important moment of the first episode.
Turn away from the gate or you will be fired upon.
Katerina, listen to me. There's nowhere to go.
Fuck out of here with flashbacks from that. Fucking Christ. Oh, she reminds me of... Fuck out of here.
Well, turn around. Let me help you.
It's time to wake up.
They like... There's a lot to say there, I think. So, okay, I kind of understand the comparison they're drawing of, like, you remind me of someone, because he's seeing this beautiful woman with kind of a dick, and that's, I guess, what you could say, or kind of animalistic beast, and that's what he was a bit when he was still in the Syndicate with Julius. You could argue there's something there, but so I don't hate the inclusion of that. I think that could have been done well if they maybe didn't have the flashbacks, and then we could kind of think back on it ourselves and go, okay, I see that, why he might have reacted a certain way and actually cared for her. And that's something that I probably didn't even think about in the original anime, because they didn't put it in my face. So you could argue that maybe they did a better job here of getting me to think about it, but very overtly. So it's kind of one end and one end when it needs to be here. And I think her shooting him, it's basically the same either way, because she chooses, hey, I'm gonna just die here and he's dead, when she could say, like, shoot him and then turn around and try to keep living. But so it's still the same end of, like, hey, it's gonna be shit everywhere, I'm just gonna take this into my own hands instead of, being my dad's puppet or Asimov's puppet or in jail or something else being used, for someone else's purposes. I'll take control of my own life and just let them kill me. But I think her shooting him is more impactful to that, because it's more of her power to do so, where this was like, it was just there. This was her saying, no, I'm done with this. This is my choice fully. So I think it's a little bit more impactful there, a little more shocking. It's not the most meaningful change in the series, but I think it is a big one, because it's just shocking when she when we see and she has killed him. And again, it's that gray area of everything where no one's fully pure in the Cowboy Bebop world, where she was a little bit more in this version. Visually, it was there. It seemed a little bit more dramatic, where, like, the ship was really blowing apart and, like, the Gatling guns coming down and really firing, which kind of takes away from what the moment's supposed to be about. Glad it was there, obviously, but they shouldn't have spread it out. And here comes the exact thing I said I didn't want to happen. The exact thing I said I didn't want to happen right here. We all know he's gonna be here, but just stay true to it and fucking wait.
Where is he? Look, I swear, it wasn't our fault.
Oh yeah, we have to get a slow motion shot. That was fucking stupid. So that was stupid. Also, again, I've already gone over bringing it in this early, so I won't. But another important thing of bringing in this early is Vicious. His name is literally fucking Vicious because he's vicious. That's his character. So again, why it's important that he's brought in later is because the series is set. There's, ups and downs of seriousness, and then you hit Vicious, and it's a full-on down into the pits of oh shit. And then that turns into, oh shit, this is what Spike left. And that adds more depth to Spike's character that's been developed nicely. And throwing it in here isn't how Vicious was intended to be put in the series. It wasn't. So it doesn't work as well because he's a very flat character. He serves one purpose, and that purpose needs to come after other things. Dislike. Much dislike. Oh, are we going to see Julia already? Another thing too, yeah, just show us all of Spike's story. We've all seen it. Fuck it. We don't need to care for the original fucking series or anything.
My love. Nothing to concern yourself with.
Vicious being very physical is good. I like that he's very much, because he's a piece of shit, so he's doing that, like, very much I have ownership thing, like, don't worry about it, you know. So that's, again, another physical detail that's good for his character. Okay. We have done it. Consultant, the original director. Okay. Julia's been very much, through the flashbacks and everything, they've been much more revealing, because in the original she's just wearing like the leather jacket, and then in the other flashback she's wearing a full dress, which is again very modest, and I don't think we ever actually see her in anything revealing like that for the entire series. I like that about this is something I haven't even thought about before, but I like that about the original series, that we didn't really see much that was like outright sexualized of Julia. We saw obviously that she was there were scenes where she was, you know, just after having sex with Spike or Vicious, but that's almost, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings I could say on the use of sex in anime, and I said there's a little bit with Vanitas, but not the really romantic side of it. I don't want to get into that all here, but making Julia much more overtly like, yes, I am a woman with a body, I don't like that, because that might detract from Spike's love for her kind of being like one, not pure, but one more wholesome thing in his life, one more true thing in his life that's been lost, and that's why he's a little bit more fake. That it wasn't about like, oh, she's beautiful with this gorgeous body, and he'll, you know, he could say like, oh, she was very beautiful, but that's not what we see of her. We don't see much of her, honestly. Julia is kind of a nothing in the series, because she's this past that he's trying to go back to, and again, I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff, so I don't want to do that too much, but I don't think it's good overall to see that Julia's been very boobies. Yeah, there's a lot. This was very long. I didn't expect the first episode to be 50 minutes when I had this idea. I'm not going to waste my time saying a bunch more because I've said it here. I'm not hopeful. I'm not hopeful at all based on what I've seen. Everyone's an asshole. It's a bit too quippy, which I think is kind of like everyone trying to be Marvel. It has cool mechanical stuff. It has a good look to it about certain things, but it goes in on that look and misses the point of it all, and it's going to keep missing the point. That's about it. I'm not hopeful. I'm going to finish it. I'm probably going to write down a lot of thoughts that help explain why the original was so good, but I'm not going to do that here because I've already spoken. This is an hour and a half. I'm not sure how long it's going to come out to US, but for me, it's an hour and a half. I have strong opinions on in the end of it, pointless things. So if this was something you liked and want to see more of, let me know down below, because this is the first time I've ever done this, so it might be terrible. If you think it's bad but I can work on it, let me know as well. If there's something I should do differently, if you do want to see more of this, because getting input like that is really crucial to me being able to make the content that you would want to see. Important links in the description. I'll have some more thoughts on this. The links are Discord, Twitter, and Patreon. Discord, where eventually I'll get some stuff moving for community events. Twitter, where I'll tweet very rarely and when new videos are released, and Patreon, where you can get your name at the end of videos like these lovely people right here. We're awesome and amazing, and once we get enough, we'll do more things there. But anyway, subscribe thing, another video on Bebop. Thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you again soon.